Duryodhana could not stop thinking about his defeat. After the Kaurava prince had gone about 10 miles back through the forest, evening fell, and Duryodhana ordered his party to stop for the night. They set up camp on a grassy bank of a nearby river. The Kaurava prince entered his tent. Sitting on a bedstead as bright as fire, Duryodhana looked like an eclipsed moon. Unable to sleep, the Kaurava prince remained lost in painful thoughts. Just before sunrise, Karna came to see him. Having fled far from the battlefield when defeated by the Gandharvas, Karna had not witnessed the capture of the Kauravas, and when he returned, no one had been able to tell him how his best friend had been humiliated. Karna therefore had assumed that the prince had overpowered the Gandharvas by his own might. Praising Duryodhana's strength and prowess, Karna spoke. "O descendant of Kuru, indeed it is fortunate that you are alive and we have met again. By good luck you have defeated the Gandharvas, who possess great might as well as the powers of illusion. I was forced to flee for my life, my body mangled by arrows. It is a great wonder that I see you and your brothers and wives here, safe after the superhuman battle. What man could have done what you did today?" But Karna's words only increased Duryodhana's grief. He replied in a choked voice, "Oh, Radeya, you do not know what has happened, so I am not angry with you. Although you think I overcame the Gandharvas, in fact, my brothers and I were all defeated. After a most furious battle, we were taken prisoner and carried away through the skies." Karna was amazed. You see, the 4 Pandavas had come to rescue us on the order of Yudhishthir, and the Gandharva king revealed to Yudhishthir our real purpose in coming to Dwaitavan. When I heard Chitrasena speaking in the presence of the Pandavas, I felt like entering the earth. Alas, what greater sorrow could be mine than to be bound by chains and offered as tribute to Yudhishthir in the presence of all of our women? Why, I have always persecuted those brothers. They are my sworn enemies and will always be so. Yet, it was they who released me from captivity. Now, I am indebted to them for my life. I would have preferred to die in the battle than to suffer such a fate." Duryodhana began to cry, and Karna tried to console him. After some time, the prince managed to regain his composure, but his voice was grave. "Now listen, my friend. I will remain here and fast until death. Let all my brothers and other relatives return to the city. I have been insulted by my enemy, so I can never return to Hastinapur. I, who was respected and feared by my enemies, I, who enhanced the respect of my friends, have now become a source of joy to my enemies and grief to my friends. So if I return to Hastinapur, what could I say to my father? What could I say to Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, Ashvatthama, Vidura, and all the other Kuru chiefs?" In his suffering, Duryodhana realized his foolishness at last. What madness had driven him to come out to this forest? He once again recalled the many times Vidura had tried to counsel him, but he had never paid even the slightest regard. Surely now he was reaping the results of his own stupidity. Certainly it was unbearable, so death was the only recourse. Looking at Karna, his eyes filled with tears as he spoke. Men like me, puffed up with vanity and insolence, are never blessed for any length of time, even if they obtain prosperity and knowledge. Alas, I have become wicked. Now I must suffer. Leave me here to die, for I can no longer continue to live. What man could be rescued by his enemies and then drag on in his miserable existence? Proud as I am, the enemy has laughed at me, finding me deprived of my prowess. Duryodhana then asked Karna to bring to him Dushashan, and when he arrived, Duryodhana spoke. O descendant of Bharata, hear my words. I order you to be installed in my place as the ruler of the earth. Become the refuge of your friends and relatives, and become the terror of your enemies. Always bestow charity upon brahmanas, and cherish your gurus. And as Vishnu protects the celestials, so you too should protect your dependents. Clasping his brother's shoulders, Duryodhana concluded, Now go, my dear brother, and rule this wide earth. I shall end my life here. Dushashan was grief-stricken. He lowered his face and spoke. Oh, brother, please give up your determination to die, for it can never be. Do not accept such a path. How can I become king in your place? The earth may split, the heavens may fall, and the sun may lose its heat, but I can never rule this earth without you. Oh, relent, Duryodhana, relent. I fall at your feet. You alone shall be the king for 100 years, and I shall be your servant. Karna interjected. Oh, heroes, what will all of this achieve? Weeping does not drive away grief. Summon now your patience, and do not grieve, thus giving more joy to your enemies. The Pandavas only did their duty when they rescued you, for it is always the duty of subjects to do what is good for their king. Under your protection, the Pandavas happily reside in your dominion. They are dependent upon you, O king, and it is not otherwise. So do not indulge in sorrow like an ordinary man. O Duryodhana, we are all suffering to hear you speak of dying. Be blessed, rise up, and return to your city. Console your relatives. Karna tried his best to convince his friend to change his mind. He pointed out that although Duryodhana had subjugated and even enslaved the Pandavas, they had not resolved to die. It was not wonderful that they had rescued him, for there were many instances where a mighty king had somehow been overpowered by his enemies and rescued by his troops. The fortunes of war were unpredictable. Sometimes one gained victory, and at other times defeated. A warrior had to learn how to tolerate life's reverses if he wanted to ultimately gain success. Although he was covered in wounds from the battle, Karna laughed as he continued speaking. Therefore, O king, rise up. Do not become the butt of jokes for other kings by dying like this. Go forth and earn everlasting fame. Put this setback behind you. Victory will surely attend you. Although he was repeatedly beseeched by both Dushashan and Karna, Duryodhana did not rise up. He had decided to die. When Shakuni entered the tent, he heard Karna and Dushashan's attempts to encourage Duryodhana. But seeing his resolution, and knowing that Duryodhana was incapable of tolerating any insult, Shakuni said, O descendant of Kuru, you have heard Karna's speech, and it is full of wisdom. Why then are you foolishly throwing away the wealth which I won for you? This is childish and unnecessary. It seems you have never waited upon your elders or learned any self-control. As an unfired earthen pot leaks when filled with water, so one without self-control is lost when grief or joy arises. But this is no occasion for grief. The Pandavas have helped you. You should not indulge in lamentation. Instead, reward the Pandavas. Shakuni had always recognized that the Pandavas were superior in strength. Thus, he advised Duryodhana to defeat them at dice rather than face them in battle. Shakuni also recognized that those 5 heroes were devoted to virtue and truth, so they posed no threat to the Kauravas whatsoever. Whatever enmity and antagonism was there between the two families only came from the Kauravas. But it seemed as if there was no way to overcome the Pandavas. So perhaps it would be better to accept that fact with good grace rather than to be annihilated in some final confrontation. Thinking like this, Shakuni continued speaking. O king, your behavior makes no sense. You owe it to the Pandavas to repay them for their favor. So do not undermine what they have done for you by your useless lamentation. Rather, go to the Pandavas with a cheerful heart and return their kingdom. You will thereby win both virtue and renown. Establish brotherly relations with the Pandavas, and then you will be happy. Shakuni thought that this was now the opportunity for Duryodhana to display his nobility. By going to the Pandavas and offering them their kingdom in return for being saved, Duryodhana would reverse the situation. Instead of appearing foolish, Duryodhana would appear generous and upright, and the Pandavas would also appear to be recipients of his mercy. Duryodhana then bent down and lifted up the weeping Dushashan. After hearing Karna and Shakuni speak, Duryodhana was overwhelmed with shame. He was completely overtaken with despair. I have nothing more to do with virtue, friendship, wealth, renown, sovereignty, or even enjoyment. Do not oppose me. Leave me alone, all of you. I am resolved to abandon my life. You can all go back to the city, and on my behalf, worship my gurus with respect. Karna then said, "O King of Kings, how can we leave you here? Your way is our way. We are all united in happiness and distress. Give up this resolve, or we too shall die." Still, Duryodhana did not waver in his determination. He spread kusha grass on the ground. He took off his royal garments and put on rags. He purified himself by touching water and sat down in a yogic posture. With the desire to attain heaven, he began observing the Praya vow of fasting until death. He stopped speaking and, ceasing all other external activities, half closed his eyes. Soon he was meditating. Meanwhile, in the nether regions, the Danavas and Daityas had become aware of Duryodhana's resolve. These demoniac celestial beings, who had been defeated in a war with the demigods, were depending upon Duryodhana to oppose the demigods' purpose on earth. Many of the demons had even incarnated upon earth as kings and warriors, with the hope of overthrowing the pious kings who made sacrifices to the gods. Fearing that their party would not succeed without Duryodhana, the celestial demons began a sacrifice. They employed brahmanas to chant mantras which had the power to summon to their presence any man from another planet. As the brahmanas offered ghee into the fire while reciting hymns from the Upanishads and the Atharva Veda, a strange effulgent goddess rose from the fire and asked, "Tell me, what shall I do?" "Yes, bring to us Duryodhana, the son of Dhritarashtra. At this time, he is engaged in a vow of fasting." "Tatastu, so be it." The goddess vanished and went immediately to the place where Duryodhana was sitting. Unseen, she took him in his subtle body and brought him before the demons in the nether region. As if in a dream, Duryodhana found himself standing in an assembly of Danavas. Their leader, his eyes wide with delight, spoke. "O King of Kings, O upholder of the Bharata race, you are always surrounded by heroes and illustrious men. Why then have you undertaken such a rash vow? Do you not know that suicide always leads to hell? One who kills himself is reviled on earth and attains no auspicious destination. Intelligent men like you never engage in acts that go against their own best interest. O King, give up your resolve to die. Such a resolve is destructive to morality, profit, happiness, fame, prowess, and energy. If you commit suicide, you will only enhance your enemy's joy. Listen now as we tell you the truth of your position, your celestial origins, and your power. And then you may decide what you wish to do. You have been born as a result of our demoniac austerities. We have obtained you as a boon from Lord Shiva. Your body is made of thunder and is virtually invincible. You are being supported by those kings who are themselves powerful Danavas incarnated on earth. United in battle, you will doubtlessly destroy your enemies. Other great demons, at the time of the battle, will take over the hearts of Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, and others. The Kuru chiefs will thus cast aside restraint and compassion and kill anyone who opposes them, even if they be brother, son, friend, father, disciple, even children and old men. Blinded by ignorance and wrath, they will show no mercy and will slay hundreds of thousands on the battlefield. And as Duryodhana listened in amazement, the Danava leader continued, "O hero, you should not fear Arjuna. We have already decided how he will die. The soul of the powerful Naraka Asura, who Vishnu himself slew, has taken birth as Karna. And remembering his former enmity, Karna will kill both Krishna and Arjuna. So knowing this, the wielder of the thunderbolt, Indradeva, will try to divest Karna of his natural armor and earrings, both of which render him invincible. We have therefore also arranged that hundreds of thousands of mighty Daitya warriors who are now present on earth in the form of the Sangshaptakas will fight Arjuna. So if Karna does not slay Arjuna, these warriors will. Therefore, do not lament, for you will rule the earth without any rival. Now, go back and give up your vow, for with you as our refuge, we will be there to assist you in every way." The Danavas and Daityas then came forward and embraced Duryodhana. They all spoke encouragingly and cheered his mind. Finally they said, "Go now and attain victory." Then they commanded the goddess to return Duryodhana to his gross body on earth. After being returned to his seat on the kusha grass, Duryodhana opened his eyes. He recalled his meeting with the Daityas as if it had been a dream. The prince was not certain if it had actually occurred, but it did change his mind. Whether or not he had met the celestial beings was unimportant. He took their predictions seriously. Surely their words would come to pass, and he would defeat the Pandavas. Karna and the Samshaptakas would kill Arjuna, and thousands of other Kshatriyas would assist him in the war to come. While Duryodhana sat ruminating on the Danava's words, Karna came before him. Duryodhana immediately decided not to tell anyone what had happened. Seeing that he had stopped his meditation, Karna said, "Oh yes, it is good to see that you are now restored to your senses, O king. A dead man can never conquer his enemies. So this is not the time to grieve. Why do you wish to die so dishonorably? O hero, rise up and kill your foes. Go out and attain victory as well as immortal fame. I swear that when the Pandavas emerge from exile, I will conquer them and bring them under your subjugation." And so, to the delight of his brothers and Karna, Duryodhana replied, "Tathastu, so be it." He stood up, still reflecting on the Danava's speech. Duryodhana took his place at the head of his army and started back for Hastinapur, now with his mind set upon amassing his army for war.